A teenage girl walked into the Billionaire CEO's restaurant for a waitress job carrying a resume and one sentence that made him cry. "Hey, where are you watching from? I'd love to know." If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support means the world to me. It really keeps me going. Can't wait to see your thoughts in the comments. What if the person you've been searching for all your life was right in front of you, hiding in plain sight? What if the family you lost wasn't gone, but waiting for the moment you finally found them sometimes? The deepest wounds are the ones that bring us closest together. Are you ready to discover a secret that will change everything? Lily Harper stood in the opulent lobby of Lucille, her sneakers squeaking on the polished marble. The air was thick with the scent of rosemary and wealth, a world so far from her own it felt like stepping onto another planet. Crystal chandeliers cast fractured light across the room, and waitstaff moved with the precision of a Swiss watch. Lily's heart pounded as she smoothed. Her damp resumed the paper, curling at the edges. At 17, she carried the weight of two younger siblings, 12-year-old Sophie with a sharp mind and guarded heart, and a tear-old Max, who still believed in dinosaurs and miracles. Their mother, Alina, had succumbed to cancer 6 months ago, leaving Lily as their anchor in a sinking world. The diner job she'd held since sophomore year paid for rent, but the bills were a tidal wave, and their landlord's patience was running dry. Lily approached the hostess, a woman with a sleek bun and a smile as cold as the marble beneath her feet. "I'm here to apply for the waitress position," Lily said, her voice steady despite the tremor. In her hands, the hostess's eyes flicked over Lily's soaked jacket and faded jeans. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I have my resume." Lily handed over the paper, her pulse racing. The hostess took it with a raised eyebrow and vanished into the back. The resume was sparse. Lily Harper Sr. at Roosevelt High, 2 years at Rosie's Diner, reliable, quick learner, but at the bottom in careful handwriting was a sentence she'd debated for hours. "I'm fighting to keep my family together after losing our mother, and this job is our chance to survive." It was a gamble, bearing her soul to a stranger. But desperation had a way of stripping away pride. Alexander Kane's office on the top floor of Lucille was a fortress of glass and steel, a reflection of the man himself. At 45, he was a billionaire CEO whose name was synonymous with power. His empire of restaurants and luxury hotels spanned continents, built on a foundation of relentless ambition and an unforgiving eye for detail. His dark hair streamed a face that was all sharp angles and colder eyes. The world saw him as untouchable, a man who crushed competitors and discarded weakness. But beneath the tailored suits and icy demeanor, Alexander carried a wound that never healed. His brother Michael, lost to him 20 years ago in a storm of anger and regret. Clara, his assistant of a decade, knocked and entered holding a damp resume. Some kid dropped this off, no appointment, just walked in once. The waitress job. Alexander didn't look up from his laptop where he was reviewing quarterly profits. "We don't hire walk-ins." "You know that?" Clara hesitated, her fingers tightening on the paper. "This one's different. Read it," he sighed, taking the resume with a flick of impatience. His eyes scanned at Lily Harper, 17, high school diner experience, unremarkable. Then he reached the last line, "I'm fighting to keep my family together after losing our mother, and this job is our chance to survive." The words were a blade slicing through the walls he'd built. He saw Michael's face, wild, laughing, defiant, before the fight that tore them apart. He saw their mother's funeral, the empty chair where Michael should have been, and now this girl fighting a battle he'd never had the courage to face. His chest tightened, a rare crack in his composure. "Bring her in," said his voice, low, almost a growl. Clara blinked, startled. "You sure, Alex?" Now Lily sat across from Alexander in his office, her damp clothes clinging to her skin, her heart hammering. The man before her was a legend. Alexander Kane, the billionaire who owned half of Manhattan's skyline. His presence was overwhelming, his blue eyes like shards of ice. But there was something else, a flicker of something raw beneath the surface. "Why should I hire you?" he asked, his tone sharp, testing. Lily swallowed, meeting his gaze. "I'm reliable. I work hard, and I learn fast. I've been waitressing at a diner for 2 years, handling rushes. Rude customers, you name it. I need this job, Mr. Kane. My siblings, Sophie and Max, they're counting on me." He leaned back, fingers steepled, studying her. "That line on your resume about fighting for your family. Why? Righted, her cheeks flushed, but she didn't look away because it's true. My mom died 6 months ago, cancer. It was just her and us, no one else. I'm all they have now. The diner pays enough for rent, but we're barely scraping by. This job could mean food on the table. School supplies a chance to breathe. Alexander's jaw tightened. Her words echoed his own past, Michael's defiance, their mother's. Death, the guilt that clung to him like a shadow. He should send her away. She was too young, too raw for Lucielle's polished machine, but her eyes, fierce, unbroken, held him captive. Start tomorrow. Act, he said abruptly. Training shift, 6 o'clock a.m. Don't be late. Lily's breath caught. Thank you, Mr. Kane. I won't let you down. He waved her out his expression. Unreadable as the door closed, he picked up her resume again, staring at that single sentence for the first time in years. Alexander Kane felt the stirrings of something he'd thought long dead hope. Lily's first month at Liel was a trial by fire. The restaurant was a world of precision plates, aligned to the millimeter, wine poured with a flourish. Every smile calibrated the other. Waitstaff, seasoned and sleek, treated her like an outsider, their whispers cutting as she fumbled with the wine list or mispronounced. Coco, but Lily didn't break. She memorized the menu in 3 days, practiced her posture in the mirror, and carried trays until her shoulders screamed at home. She was a mother, a sister, a provider. Sophie's quiet questions about their future, and Max's endless chatter about dinosaurs kept her grounded. She promised them things would get better, even when doubt. Nor did her. Alexander watched her from the shadows he'd taken to lingering in the dining room during her shifts, telling himself it was to maintain standards. But the truth was, Lily fascinated him. She moved with a quiet strength, her smile unwavering. Even when a customer snapped about a cold soup, she was a fighter, and he hadn't seen that kind of fire in years, not since Michael one night during a packed dinner service. Lily tripped, sending a tray of champagne flutes crashing to the floor. Sound was a gunshot in the elegant silence, and heads turned. A senior waiter, Marcus, smirked. Nice work, kid. Maybe stick to the diner before Lily could respond. Alexander appeared, his presence silencing the room. Clean it up, he said, his voice calm, but edged with steel. And Marcus, one more comment like that, and you're out? Lily nodded, her face burning, and knelt to gather the shards. To her shock, Alexander crouched beside her, picking up a piece of glass. You're holding your own, he said quietly. Most would have quit by now. She looked up, startled by the softness in his voice. I can't afford to quit. I know. He stood, brushing his hands on his suit. Keep going. That moment marked a shift. Alexander began leaving notes for her, tips on service. A rare good work scrawled in his sharp handwriting. Lily kept them in her pocket, rereading them. On the subway home, she started to see past the billionaire myth, sensing a man who carried his own scars. Alexander, in turn, found himself drawn to her resilience, her refusal to bend under pressure at home. Lily's world was a tightrope. She juggled schoolwork and parenting, her grades slipping as exhaustion set in. Sophie, perceptive beyond her years, noticed the strain. You're always tired, she said one night, her voice sharp. What if you can't keep this up? We'll figure it out, Lily promised. But the words felt hollow. Max, oblivious, begged for a new dinosaur toy, and Lily's heart ached as she calculated the cost against their grocery budget. One evening after a double shift, Lily found a note from Alexander. You're better than you think. Meet me. After close, curious, and weary, she waited in his office. He handed her a coffee, the gesture unexpectedly kind. You're burning out, he said, his tone blunt. You can't keep this pace. Lily bristled. I don't have a choice. You do. He leaned forward, his eyes searching hers. Let me help. Tutors for your siblings, a better apartment. You don't have to do this alone. Her pride flared. I don't need charity, Mr. Kane. It's not charity, he snapped, then softened its respect. You remind me of someone. I lost someone who fought like you do. The confession hung between them, raw and unguarded. Lily wanted to ask more, but his phone buzzed and the moment broke. She left the coffee warm in her hands, his words echoing in her mind. Alexander couldn't shake Lily's pull, her strength, her vulnerability. It stirred memories he'd buried deep. Late one night, unable to sleep, he found an old box in his penthouse filled with relics of his past. A photograph slipped out, him and Michael 20 years ago, laughing at Coney Island. Michael's wild grin, his arms slung around Alexander's shoulders. The memory was a knife twisting with guilt. They'd fought over their parents' estate, over Michael's reckless dreams. You're not my brother." Michael had shouted before storming out. Alexander never saw him again on impulse. Alexander searched Lily's name online, digging deeper than he should. He found her mother's obituary. Alina Harper, survived by Lily, Sophie, and Max. The name Alina stopped him cold. Michael's girlfriend years ago had been named Alina. A coincidence, he told himself. But then he found a cached photo on an old social media account. Alina, young and radiant, with Michael's arm around her. His hands shook as he cross-referenced dates. Lily was 17. Michael had vanished 18 years ago. He dug further, finding court records. Alina had raised Lily alone, never naming a father, but the timeline, the photo, it was no coincidence. Lily was Michael's daughter. His niece Alexander sat back, the photograph trembling in his hand. The guilt he'd carried for 2 decades roared to life. Michael had died in a car accident a year after their fight, a fight Alexander learned years later. He'd thought his brother was gone forever. Now Lily was proof he'd been wrong. The next day, Alexander called Lily to his office, his voice tight with urgency. She arrived, sensing the weight in the air. "What's wrong?" she asked, her stomach twisting. He slid the photograph across the desk. "Do you know this man?" Lily frowned, studying the image. "He looks like someone my mom knew. She had a photo like this, but she never talked about him." Why? Alexander's throat closed. "He was my brother. Michael Caine. I think he was your father." The words hit like a tidal wave. Lily's knees buckled, and she sank into the chair. "My father. Mom said he left before I was born. She never even told me his name." "He did leave," Alexander said, his voice breaking. "We fought. I told him not to come back. I didn't know about you." "Lily, I didn't know he had a daughter." Tears streamed down her face. "You're my uncle." He nodded, his own eyes glistening. The revelation shattered them both. Lily grappled with the idea of a father she'd never known, a family stolen from her. Alexander faced his role in Michael's disappearance. The guilt of abandoning his brother. He'd learned Michael's accident had happened in a stolen car, a reckless act born of desperation, and Elilana, pregnant and alone, had never reached out. "I should have looked for him," Alexander said. "I should have found you." Lily's voice trembled. "Why didn't he come back? Why didn't Mom tell me?" They sat in silence, the weight of lost years pressing down. Then Lily stood, wiping her tears. "I need time. It's too much." The truth fractured their fragile bond. Lily kept working at Luciel, but her smiles were forced, her eyes distant. Alexander offered help, money, a new apartment, private school for Sophie and Max. Lily refused, her pride a shield we've survived without. "You," she said. "I don't need a savior. It's not about saving you." Alexander countered. "It's about being family." The word felt like a challenge. Slowly they began to bridge the gap. Alexander visited their cramped apartment, bringing pizza and a board game. Max took to him, instantly showing off his dinosaur collection. Sophie was skeptical, her questions sharp. "Why now? What do you want from us?" "Just a chance," Alexander said, his voice soft. "I lost my brother. Oh, I don't want to lose you too." Lily watched, torn between hope and fear. She let Alexander into their lives, but trust was a slow burn. He shared stories of Michael, his love of music, his reckless dreams, the way he'd light up a room. Lily shared her own scars, nights spent comforting Sophie through panic attacks, Max's nightmares after their mother's death. They were 2 broken pieces trying to fit together. A new challenge emerged when Lily's landlord raised the rent, threatening eviction. Alexander offered to pay, but Lily insisted on handling it herself instead. He taught her to negotiate, standing by as she faced the landlord with newfound confidence. They compromised, and Lily felt a spark of pride. She was stronger than she thought. Then came a bombshell. A lawyer contacted Alexander, revealing Michael had left a trust fund hidden in legal limbo after his death. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to cover college for Lily's school, for Sophie and Max, and a cushion for their future. The discovery felt like Michael's final gift, a way to protect the family he'd never known. 1 year later, Lucille sparkled under its chandeliers, the dining room alive with clinking glasses and murmured laughter. Lily now. The teen moved through the tables with grace, her uniform crisp, her smile genuine. She'd been promoted to shift manager, a role she'd earned through grit and late nights. Studying the restaurant's operations, New had accepted her on a scholarship, and the trust fund ensured Sophie and Max had what they needed: new clothes, books, even a trip to the Natural History Museum for Max's birthday. Alexander stood at the bar. Watching her, he was still the billionaire CEO, but the ice in his eyes had melted. He'd launched the Michael Caine Foundation, funding scholarships for kids. Like Lily Orphan's Fighters Dreamers, it was his way of honoring his brother, of making amends for the years he'd lost. Lily approached, holding a new resume, her eyes playful. "I'm applying for assistant manager," she said, a challenge in her voice. Alexander laughed, a sound that felt like home. "You're hired, but only if you call me Uncle Alex." She grinned, the first real smile he'd seen in months. Deal later, they sat on the restaurant's rooftop terrace. The city sprawling below. Sophie and Max joined them, Sophie sketching in her notebook, Max clutching a new dinosaur toy. The trust fund had given them a new apartment, one with big windows and a room for Sophie's art. Lily looked at her siblings, then at Alexander, and felt something she hadn't in years. "Peace, we're not perfect," she said, her voice soft, "but we're family." Alexander nodded, his hand resting on the photograph of him and Michael, now framed on his desk. "Family," echoed. "That's enough." The stars glittered above, and for the first time Lily and Alexander knew they weren't alone. The scars of loss and betrayal would always linger, but they'd built something stronger. Trust, love, a future. As the city hummed below, they stood together, a family forged in fire, ready for whatever came next.